Hello, welcome back to the Cozy Fox. Thanks for joining us this evening. If you happen to notice, I do have someone with me. This is my husband, and he has agreed to be my crochet dummy, I guess you could say. I am going to be, he's not dumb, he just doesn't know how to crochet. So I am going to be teaching him on camera how to crochet because I've had a lot of people that told me they'd like me to do some videos on how to get started. And we've been married for 10 years, and I've been crocheting for 6 of those 10 years, and I still haven't taught him how, and he still sometimes refers to it as knitting. So we're gonna get this all taken care of so he can be my minion and help me crochet all the things. And if it doesn't work out, we have wine. So if you're just starting out learning to crochet or want to learn to crochet, you will need a wine because you want to be relaxed, just not too much so you can follow the video. You are going to need a crochet hook. I recommend starting out with an I or a J hook. You don't want it to be too small or too big, so we're working with an I hook. You can see right there it says I/9, and it's a 5.5 millimeter hook. So this is a good starting hook. You will also need yarn. I recommend starting out with the size 4 worsted weight yarn. Use a light color. It's really hard to see those darker colors like black and navy. So when you're starting out, use a light color and use a solid color as well. When it's variegated, it can mess with your eyes when you're still trying to figure out what you're doing. So I gave him blue. I'm not making him use pink tonight. You don't have to get the fanciest yarn out there. You can get Red Heart Super Saver. You can pick that up at Walmart for like $2. But I do prefer, I love this yarn. That's actually what it's called. I love this yarn by Hobby Lobby. I know I plug that a lot, but I love it. It's wonderful. So, got your hook, got your yarn, got your wine, got your crochet partner. Let's get started.
I just want to say the I-9 looks like 1/9. Like,
okay, so look for the 1/9.
1/9. That's what my brain reads it as. So.
Or you could look for the J if you want to go a size up. And then you don't have to worry about the I at all.
I looking like a 1, yeah.
Yeah, J is a little bit bigger. So the smaller, so like the closer the letter is to A, the smaller the hook is.
Okay.
As it gets to Z, it gets bigger. So I and J are good starter hooks.
Okay.
It's a good way to get you into the hooking. Alright, so before we get started, I do want to explain just a couple things to you. When you've got your yarn, the end right here, this is called the tail. Sorry, he was giving me pointers on how to make a video. This is the tail. And the yarn that's connected to your skein or cake or whatever you're working with is your working yarn. Yeah, they have
cake.
Yeah, yarn cakes. Huh. They're pretty cool because then they don't roll around. So you've got your tail and you've got your working yarn. So the very first thing you need to learn how to do is make a slip knot. I'm going to show you just like this first down flat on here, just because that way you can see everything. So I've got my tail and I've got my working yarn, and I'm going to make just a regular loop. So I still have my tail and my working yarn over here, and then you're going to flip it on top of your working yarn, so then it kind of looks like
a knot.
Yeah, a knot, or like the omega sign. And then you'll take your crochet hook and you'll grab that line that splits the loop, and you're gonna pull it through the loop, and you're gonna grab your tail and your working yarn and just kind of pull it tight, and that is a slip knot. Now there's a lot of different ways to make slip knots. That's a very basic way. You'll find what's comfortable for you, and I'll show you just real quick how I make it. I mean, I do it a little fast, so I'm going to try to slow it down. I'm wrapping, so I've got the tail here, working yarn here, pinching it here, and it goes over my index finger. And so I cross it to make that loop, and then I flip it over. I do everything that I did down on the paper, but I do it in the air. And you'll want your tail to be a couple inches long, because later you will have to weave those in. You'll learn about that in a future episode. So now you've got your loop on your hook. So this is going to be called a loop. And this is your slip knot that you've got on your hook. When you are first doing patterns, reading patterns, they will never tell you to make a slip knot. So that's why I feel it's so important to teach you how to do the slip knot, because it never tells you make a slip knot and then gives you your pattern. It just assumes you've already done that. So now you've done that step. Way to go. Good job. All right, so now we're gonna work on our chain. And what you do, you grab your, backtrack. You'll hold your tail in your left hand. So that's if you're right-handed. We both are, so if you're left-handed, I'm sorry, just flip everything. And then you will bring your working yarn around the back and over and in front of your hook. This is the direction you will always grab your yarn. You always go this direction. So don't get it flipped or you'll get tangled. And yeah, it may not be noticeable at first, but as you get into the harder stitches, you'll definitely notice that it'll tangle up, and that's not a good thing. So you've got your loop that's already there, and then this is called yarn over. You've done your yarn over, and now with your hook, you're going to grab it. So just pretend like it's your finger, and you're grabbing this yarn and you're pulling it through that loop. So now you still just have one loop on your hook, and then you're gonna need to kind of adjust it a little bit. You don't want it to be too tight or too loose, and you're gonna yarn over and pull through your loop. Yarn over, pull through your loop.
This is where I struggle, is like getting it to hook on the hook and then through.
Yes, and it's going to be a struggle. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, this is so easy, but it will get there. A lot of crochet is muscle memory. You just need to do it over and over and over, as you have seen me do for 6.5 years.
Yeah.
I crochet probably 2 to 3 hours a day and night. Like during the day, probably 2 to 3 hours total. So this is just second nature to me. I could do this in my sleep. I do it while I'm talking to him. I do it on our road trips. And the key with your chain, so this is called chaining, you do not want it to be too tight or too loose. The reason you don't want it to be too tight is because this is like your foundation for everything else. You're building into this foundation, and if you have to work into it and it is so tight, you're not going to be able to get that foundation going.
Yeah, and to be honest, we had some camera issues, and the first time doing this, I was not getting it at all. Like, I wasn't able to grab the yarn with the hook when I was yarning over.
Yarning over, good job. I like that. Nice verbiage. A trick that I showed him, I wish maybe we'll do a blooper of it or something, is that you always keep your hook facing towards you, because if it's facing up, it's just going to be too hard to get it through that loop that's on your hook already. So keep it facing you and almost turn it down a little bit as you pull it through. And you lose it.
Yes, but I think I can get it.
You can do it. Got it. And as you're doing this, you want to always remember this motion. I call it rowing your rows. That's how I taught it in classes. And if this was a pen, if your hook was a pen and this was a paper, you would be drawing a circle counterclockwise. So this is the motion that you want to get down, because this is the way you're always going to do it, and now you're having trouble.
Yeah, like, I still have trouble getting it to hook right, because it's such a small, like, little area for the...
Well, let's let's lay out your chains, if you want to put them over here, just to make sure that we can see them well. Okay, so I do tend to crochet a little bit on the loose side. So that you can see the size difference
Huh.
between our chains. So when you're counting chains, which is something that you're going to have to learn, each little like set of arrows is a chain. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 13. That's a really tiny chain. You have 13. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I have 14. So I only have one more chain than you, but look at the size difference. And we were doing the same thing. So I feel that your chains are a little bit tight, which is totally normal. Most people, when they start off, crochet really tightly, and I have to tell them, shake it out, loosen your hands up. That's why it's good to actually have a glass of wine when you're first starting out, because
if you're of age.
If you're of age, if you are over 21, have a glass of wine while you crochet. But you can see the difference, and I was chaining loosely, even on purpose, just to better show you. But you can see the difference between how loose and how tight. But also what I do want to say is your chains are extremely consistent. It gets a little bit looser right there. That's about where we would want to see the size of it. And then it got really tight again. Don't be super concerned with the size of your chains at first. You're just figuring out that motion. But as you go, you'll want to shoot for consistency and about this size of chain right here, because that's easier to work into, but it's not so loose that your chains flip around, which they actually do that, and it's really annoying. You have to start over. Anytime you pull your work out, that's called frogging. You learn to love it. Not really. I still frog regularly. So now we've got our chains, and what I'm going to do, I don't know why I'm still chaining, I am going to show you how to do a slip stitch, and this is also what you use to join. So this will be the last lesson for this evening. You know, I am going to go ahead and chain several more just because I want it to be easier to show you. And as far as holding your hook and holding your working yarn, that is totally up to you. Everybody is different. Just do what's comfortable for you. And it may take you a while to figure it out. I will show you though that some people, I hold my hook overhand, almost like you hold a knife. Well, exactly like you hold a knife when you're cutting. Some people like to hold their hooks underhand, like they're writing with a pencil. When I was teaching our daughter how to crochet, she likes to hold it underhand. I prefer the overhand method. Okay, now that we've gotten chaining figured out, which continue to practice, continue working on counting your chains. That will really help you with consistency. Just do it over and over and over and over and over again. I'm going to show you how to do a slip stitch. This is also, excuse me, I'm going to show you how to do a slip stitch. A slip stitch is also what you use to join, which as you progress in crocheting, joining is something you will do a lot of if you're making hats or things like that. Oh, there's my phone. So to work a join, and especially into your foundation row, which is what this would be called if we were making something with it, you are going to join. I'm joining into the very first stitch that I made, so make sure it's not twisted. Get a loop where it's not twisted. And your first one's really easy. You actually are going to go right there. So you go under that top loop.
So right here?
Mm-hmm. You go under the top loop, and you'll actually even go under a back loop, which if I flip my work over, you can kind of see a little bump. That's my back loop. It's always hard to see it on your first loop, but you got it. Yep,
okay.
You got it. So you insert your hook and get your tail out of the way. It's really annoying. And you're going to yarn over, just how you did with a chain. So with your working yarn, you're going to yarn over.
Okay.
And now this time you're going to pull it through the stitch and then through the loop. And that's called a slip stitch, and that's also called a join. Okay, now let me watch you do it because I wasn't watching. So you've inserted your hook. Now you're going to do yarn over. That's your tail though. So
yarn over.
okay, now pull that. It's called pulling a loop through.
It's almost through.
You lost the loop that was on your hook though.
Oh no. Right?
Yep. Okay, now pull it through the loop that's on your hook. Good. Now tighten it a bit.
How tight
now, that like this. So it's not super tight, but you can move it easily on the hook. Good. So that is called, we just did a slip stitch. And now we'll go ahead and work a couple slip stitches so you get used to that motion. So that was just a join with a slip stitch. So now as you get into your second stitch, remember you have to shoot kind of in between that arrow or that chain. You want to go under the top one and under the back loop, yarn over and pick up a loop, and then pull it through the loop on your yarn. It's very similar to a chain, it's just pulling it through one more thing.
Did I go too far?
I wasn't paying attention because I was demonstrating. I will pay attention to you now. I'm not sure what happened.
I went through.
It's like you went through, but then you made another chain.
Yeah.
So go ahead and
I went through that.
remove your hook. Go ahead and take your hook out and pull that through. Okay. Oh, well, all the way, sure. That's frogging it. Wait. Nice demonstration of frogging.
Ribbit. Okay, so.
Okay. You got the yarn over.
Oh, this is so difficult. Okay, so what I'm struggling with still is getting that to grab.
I think part of what you need to
There we
do
go.
is make sure that you're pulling it a little tighter under there, because I notice it's very loose as you're trying to pull it through, and that's hard to
Yeah.
grab it when it's loose. So once you hook it, have it tight, not like super tight, but just so you can actually grab it. Remove the
Okay.
tension from it.
So, and then we go back.
You're going to be working into this stitch right here.
Right there.
Yep. So
That's-
you actually just worked into the same stitch you just did. And so you're going to be working under this loop right here.
This
Good.
right
Yep.
here. Hiya.
Perfect.
Where's my
I
working
like your
yarn?
sound effects. So kind of snug through.
Oh my gosh.
I promise the first, this first part right here is the hardest. Okay. Just work on pulling it through that chain that you're working into. Don't worry about pulling it through the loop, your first loop. Just get it through that chain. There you go. Now pull it through the loop. Got it.
Oh.
There you go. You have made 2 slip stitches. Way to go, babe. I may sound condescending, but I mean it. This is a hard concept to do completely on your own, which is why I recommend signing up for a class or having an instructor come and show you. So I think that's going to be it for tonight. Just to recap, we discussed making a slip knot, which you aced right away. And then
Yo-yoing.
Yo-yo. And then doing the chain, which if you're reading a pattern, chain is CH, just so you know. Anytime it says CH7, that means like chain 7, so you want to do it 7 times. And then we also practice joining with a slip stitch. And feel free to pause, rewind, watch this video as many times as you want, because the more views I get, the more money I get. So I hope this was helpful for you tonight and you enjoyed our relationship. I know I do. So happy hooking, and I hope I helped you guys learn how to do these crochet basics tonight.